I really wanted a PlayStation 4 when it was originally released. I tried everything to get one as quickly as possible. The local Best Buy was having a Black Friday sale and I stood in line waiting to get one. I was nowhere near being lucky enough to actually get one in this method. I then tried getting one online. As much as I wanted one, the people on eBay and Amazon who were reselling them were asking way too much money and I couldn't afford them. After several days of trying my best to find a way to get one, I had to come to the conclusion that it wasn't going to happen. It was then that I thought I came across a bit of luck. Going through Craigslist, I found that someone was selling their PlayStation 4 and at no more than the original buying price of the system. I, of course, was skeptical. I couldn't understand why they would do that. Also, I figured, as in demand as the system happened to be, that someone would have claimed it right away. I immediately emailed the seller and let them know that I was very interested and hoped that they still had it. I was surprised to get an immediate response that they did still have the PlayStation 4 and would be willing to sell it to me. They asked for my address so they could bring it over. I was sort of hesitant and asked if it would be better to meet in public. I wasn't too keen on the idea of someone coming over to my house. He let me know that he was going to be very busy all day and that he couldn't keep an appointment in public. It would be much better if he came over to my house. I was still not really ecstatic about the idea, but I really wanted that PS4. I agreed and gave the guy my address. I figured it was safer than me going over to his place. This whole exchange took place around 9 a.m. I was so happy and really eager to get my PS4. My eagerness only grew as I began waiting for the guy to show up. Hell, I not only began waiting for him, I waited for him for a long time. Hours passed by and I began to think that he was going to come. Around 2 p.m. I had gotten really impatient. I tried emailing the guy back, asking him where he was. Previously, I had gotten very quick responses from him, but I didn't get any this time. Around 6 p.m., I had lost all hope. I figured that most likely he got a better offer from someone else and didn't want to tell me. I was disappointed, more than I could possibly even tell you. I couldn't even tell you how deflated I was. It's one thing to not have gotten the item from the store. I could come to terms with that. But I was so close to having one in my hands and I didn't get the PS4. And that was the scariest thing to ever happen to me. Just kidding. For the rest of the night, I kept looking around on Craigslist to find a new PS4 that was within my price range. I wasn't able to find anything, and before I knew it, I had wasted the entire day and the entire evening with this search. It was past midnight and I had just nothing to show for the day. I got ready for bed and that was when I heard something. At first I dismissed it, thinking that it was my imagination. Then I heard it again, and someone was knocking at my door. I walked up to the door and looked out the window. There was a guy standing there and I asked who he was. He identified himself as the guy who had the PS4. He apologized for being so late and told me he had got caught up during the day. He asked if I had the money. I opened the door but kept the screen door closed. I told him I had the money, but I didn't see that he had anything with him. I asked if he brought the PS4 with him. He told me it was out in his van. He told me to get the money and come out to the van with him and he would get it out for me. I let him know I wasn't really comfortable walking out to his van and he told me it was alright. I looked over his shoulder and saw that someone was in the van waiting, and he had been keeping his hands in his hooded sweatshirt all the time while talking to me. There was something more than just his hand in there. I told him I'd go get my wallet and then come back. He protested as I closed the door in his face and then I locked it. I was too uncomfortable with this and I went over to my phone to call the cops. As I did, I heard a loud hit on my front door. Then after a few moments, I watched the van drive away really fast. When I went to check and see if he damaged my door, I nearly fainted as I saw a knife embedded into the door itself. I was right that he had something in his sweatshirt and glad that I didn't go out to the van with him. It was Christmas Eve and I was a freshman in high school. My family has been split up for some time, so normally we trade off of Christmas Day and Christmas Eve every year, and this year, I had to come home early from my grandparents' Christmas party while everyone else was at my aunt and uncle celebrating another party. When I was dropped off, my cousins offered to stay with me for a few hours, yet I declined. I thought I could watch some of my new DVDs and get some alone time in this house, which is a rarity. I had noticed an unfamiliar car parked on the street, but didn't think anything of it considering it was Christmas Eve. Probably a neighbor's relative or something. After I got inside, I locked the door, grabbed snacks, and started to settle down. I hadn't been home for more than 15 minutes when there was a knock at the door. I unlocked the door and opened it only a crack to see a man standing there. Dark hair, glasses, slightly overweight and dressed casually. He didn't look like much of a threat, but my stomach dropped. He asked, "I was wondering about the car outside. Is it for sale?" I told him I didn't think so. "Is there someone here I can talk to about it?" I said, and quite stupidly I might add, "No, you can come back another time," and shut the door and turned the lock as fast as I possibly could. Just then, I heard a man yell and I saw the man through the window run to his car and drive off. My uncle had gotten here just in time and scared the man off. Who knows what would have happened if he didn't make it home in time. Sadly, we didn't get the plate number and nothing ever came of it, but I'll never be home alone on a holiday again. This was a few years back. The big Christmas gift that year was a game called Uno Attack. It was supposed to sell out pretty quickly and my nephew really wanted one. So I decided for the first time ever to break the Black Friday crowd and see about getting one. I waited outside the store in line for it to open. The entire time I kept wondering why people were so fanatical about doing this. It was cold, and although I was reasonably bundled up, it didn't help that I had to spend so much time not moving. In addition, some people were in terrible spirits, which seemed to take the spirit away from the event. Some people were trying to cut in line, which only made the people already in line crabbier than they already were. When the store was getting closer to opening, I noticed that there was someone from the store headed out and talking to each person in line. When they got to me, I realized he was handing out tickets indicating who would be able to buy an Uno Attack game. He asked me if that's why I was there, and I told him yes. He told me I was lucky then because I was getting the very last ticket. Of course, this caused some groaning and swearing from the people behind me. And although I hated the idea that there would be a lot of children who wouldn't be getting the toy they wanted, I was elated. That was until this guy got out of line and walked up to me. He came up immediately after the worker left. He first offered to buy this ticket from me. I told him no because it wasn't a matter of money, it was me trying to make my nephew happy. He then started telling me that his son really wanted the toy. I countered with letting him know that my nephew really wanted the toy also. But when I kept refusing, he started telling me other stories, such as his son was really sick, but I couldn't tell if he was just doing his best to make me feel guilty. From further back in the line, a few other people began telling the guy to leave me alone. He got into a shouting match with several of them. Eventually the guy stumped away, but not before telling me, "I'll get that toy." I tried not to think about it. I went in, claimed the Uno game, and did some more shopping. I figured that since I had spent so much time waiting, that I should try to get as much done as I could. When I was done in that store, I went back out to my car. I put all the toys in the trunk, and then I walked over to the bookstore in the strip mall in order to get some other items. When I began walking back to the car for the second time, I paused when I noticed the man from earlier was leaning on my car. I began feeling tense, knowing that the guy was going to confront me again. He was much bigger than I was, but I decided that I couldn't let him intimidate me. As I got closer to my car, he noticed me and he smiled. He reached into his pocket and I assumed he was reaching for his wallet, but it only took a moment before I saw that it was a pocket knife and he flipped it open. I immediately stopped. I couldn't imagine the guy would be stupid enough to try and threaten or stab me in a busy parking lot, but I didn't want to test that theory. So I turned and quickly ran back into the store that I had bought the Uno game in. I let the store security know what happened and they gave me an escort out to my car. The man was gone, but I was still shaken. I was more shaken when I noticed knife marks on the lock for my trunk and the trunk was dented. There were also deep scratches in my driver's side window. I never went out on a Black Friday again.